Welcome to the deep dive. If you're looking to really get the core marketing ideas without, drowning in theory, you're in the right place.
Definitely. We're zeroing in today.
Yeah, we're tackling the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing by Ries and Jack Trout. Think of this as your shortcut through the marketing maze, getting straight to the principles that, actually work.
That's a great way to put it, because these guys, Ries and Trout, they spent something like, over 25 years just watching what clicks and what fails in the real world. No fluff, just fundamental forces.
Right. They're the minds behind huge concepts like positioning and marketing warfare. So they've got the credentials.
Absolutely. Their experience is baked into these laws. So for you listening, it's like getting decades of insight distilled.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive, simple. We're pulling out those 22 laws, explaining them, and showing you why some marketing just wins and some doesn't. Let's start with law number 1, the law of leadership.
Ah, yes, the big one. It's deceptively simple. It's better to be first in the mind than it is to be better.
First in the mind.
Okay, think about it. Who first flew solo across the Atlantic? Everyone knows Lindbergh. But
yeah.
who was second? Much harder. Burt Hinkler. Maybe even a better pilot, technically. But Lindbergh got there first mentally. That's the power. Getting into the mind first creates this huge, lasting advantage.
It really does stick. Like Hertz for car rentals, right?
Yeah.
Or IBM for years. They were computers in people's heads. Coca-Cola.
Exactly. And Miller Lite, the first domestic light beer, still a leader despite, countless others jumping in.
But the book mentions it's not always a guaranteed win being first to market. Like USA Today, first national paper for the TV crowd, but debatable impact.
Right, or Frosty Paws ice cream for dogs. First of its kind, sure, but maybe not a category everyone was clamoring for. The real prize, the law says, is being first in the mind, not just first out the door.
So mental real estate is key.
Precisely. And it's interesting how just leading can feel like being first. Like Harvard, often seen as the top U.S. university, and hey, it was also the first one founded.
Ah, interesting connection.
And think about brand names becoming generic. We say Scotch tape, Band-Aid, Jell-O. Ries and Trout even suggest, if you're truly first, pick a name that could become generic. Risky legally, maybe, but pure marketing gold if it works. It's about owning that mental space.
That totally flips the whole build a better mousetrap idea, doesn't it? We always hear innovate, make it superior.
It does. But this argues marketing is fundamentally a perception game in the customer's mind. That first brand often gets perceived as better, almost automatically. Think about the first aspirin brand you knew. Still your go-to, maybe. Even if others claim to be better now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Perception trumps product specs sometimes.
Which flows right into law number 2, the law of the category. If you can't be first in an existing category, well, invent a new one you can be first in.
Create your own pond.
Exactly. Think Amelia Earhart. Not the first person to fly the Atlantic solo, but the first woman. Boom. New category, legendary status. If the main category is locked up, define a new playing field.
Okay, I see. Like Michelob beer. Instead of fighting Heineken head-on as an import,
they created first high-priced domestic beer. Smart. And outsold Heineken for a while.
And Amstel Light became the first imported light beer, playing off Miller Lite's success in the domestic space.
Right. So the question shifts, doesn't it? Not how are we better, but first what? What new category can we own in the customer's mind?
It's category thinking, not just brand thinking.
Yes. Because people are often skeptical of better, but they're open to new. Think DEC Digital Equipment Corporation. They weren't beating IBM at mainframes. So, mini computers, new category.
And others followed that pattern.
Oh yeah. Tandem with fault-tolerant computers. Stratus then did fault-tolerant minis. Cray owned supercomputers. Convex, mini supercomputers. Commodore Amiga was maybe the first multimedia computer. Dell nailed selling by phone. It shows category leadership often beats just being another brand.
So being first in the mind is critical, whether it's the main category or a new one you create. Which leads us nicely to Law 3, the law of the mind.
It's better to be first in the mind than first in the marketplace. It sounds similar to leadership, but it emphasizes the mental battle.
Okay, so marketplace first isn't enough.
Not always. Remington Rand actually sold the first mainframe, the UNIVAC, before IBM, but IBM won the marketing war, the mental war. They got into people's heads as the computer company. Market share follows mind share.
And once someone's got that mental spot, it's hard to kick them out.
Incredibly hard. That's the point. Wang was huge in word processors, right? Tried to move into computers. Tough going. Xerox owned copiers. Tried computers. Despite huge resources. Nope. It's like trying to rewrite history in someone's head. Minds don't change easily.
So getting that initial positioning right is crucial.
Absolutely. Because opinions form fast. You almost need to, blast your way into the mind with something clear and memorable, not just creep in slowly. Apple's name's simple, different, probably helped a lot early on compared to, complicated techie names.
A simple name helps win the mental battle.
Got it. Okay, that connects directly to Law 4, the law of perception.
Yes. Marketing isn't a battle of products, it's a battle of perceptions. This one can be tough to swallow if you know your product is better. Because reality should matter, right?
Well, in marketing, reality is what's in the prospect's mind. Truth is relative, perception is everything. Ries and Trout say most marketing mistakes happen because people think it's a product fight based on objective facts. It's usually not.
Can you give an example?
Think Japanese cars in the US, Honda, Toyota, Nissan. Their early success wasn't just about quality from day one, it was the perception of quality their marketing built. It becomes everybody knows they're reliable.
Ah, the everybody knows principle. So we buy based on what we think everyone else thinks.
Often, yeah. Secondhand perception is powerful. Look at the Audi unintended acceleration issue years ago. Experts found little wrong, mostly, but the negative perception. It crushed their sales for years. Perception became reality for buyers.
And the new Coke disaster.
Perfect example. Taste tests. New Coke won. People preferred the taste, objectively.
But it bombed. Massively.
Because Coke wasn't just about taste. It was about history, nostalgia, the idea of Coke, the perception. People tasted what they expected or wanted to taste, which was the original. Perception beat the product reality, hands down.
Okay, mind blown a little. So, first in the mind, perception is reality.
Yeah.
How do you actually do that? How do you stake that claim? That sounds like Law 5, the law of focus.
Exactly. This one's powerful. The most powerful concept in marketing is owning a word in the prospect's mind. A single word.
One word, like
Federal Express owns overnight, or used to, arguably.
Yeah.
IBM owned computer. Xerox, copier. Hershey's, chocolate bar. Coke, cola. Crest, cavities.
Volvo, safety. BMW, driving. Domino's, home delivery.
You got it. Simple, clear dictionary words are often best. Mercedes owns engineering. Pepsi owned youth for a long time. Nordstrom, service. These words become mental shorthand for the brand. The goal is to own one.
But it must be hard to change a word when someone else owns it. Like Lotus tried to move beyond spreadsheet.
Very hard. Lotus was spreadsheets. Expanding was tough. Atari owned video game. Tried computer. Didn't work. The book argues narrowing your focus to own that word gives you strength. Trying to be too many things weakens you.
So broad slogans about quality don't really work, like all the car companies saying it.
Not really. Who claims unquality, right? Effective focus often needs an opposite. Pro-business versus pro-labor. You stand for something. And once you own that word, you got to protect it. BMW maybe diluted driving when they pushed big luxury cars.
Interesting. The book mentions the anti-drug campaigns versus abortion debate.
Yeah, to show the power of single word, pro-life versus pro-choice. Very focused, powerful words. Compared to maybe vaguer anti-drug messages, they even suggest loser as a stark, focused word for anti-drug ads. The point is, find your word.
And if someone else already owns the word you want, that brings us to Law 6, the law of exclusivity.
Right, two companies cannot own the same word in the mind. Simple as that. If your competitor has locked up a word, you probably can't take it.
So, Volvo owns safety. Other car makers can talk safety, but they don't own it like Volvo.
Exactly. And remember, Atari trying for home computer failed. Apple, Commodore, others were already there in people's minds. Trying to steal an owned word often just reinforces the original owner, makes them stronger.
Like FedEx trying to grab worldwide from DHL. DHL already owned that perception.
Precisely. Or Burger King trying to own fast when McDonald's practically invented fast food perception. It backfired. You need your own word, your own turf. Don't try to invade.
Okay, so if you're not first and the word you want is taken, what's the strategy? Law 7, the law of the ladder.
Yes. Your strategy depends on which rung you occupy on the mental ladder for that category. People rank brands in their heads.
Like car rentals. Hertz top rung, Avis maybe second, National third.
Exactly. And your marketing has to acknowledge where you are. Avis's stroke of genius. We're Gnome 2 too, so we try harder. They owned their position.
But when they tried saying Avis is going to be number 1,
Didn't work as well, did it? It didn't match the mental ladder people already had. We only really accept info that fits our existing mental rankings.
So Chrysler comparing its used cars to new Hondas didn't work because they weren't on the same quality rung in people's minds.
Pretty much. The mind filters stuff out. How many rungs? Depends on interest. But often around 7 brands people can recall for high-interest stuff.
And sometimes it's better to be defined on a big ladder, even if lower down, like 7 Up.
Yeah, the Uncola strategy. They position themselves on the huge cola ladder, but as the alternative. A big fish in a small pond might seem appealing, but sometimes being a distinct small fish in a giant pond, like 7 Up, is smarter long-term.
As these ladders play out over time, Law 8 suggests something interesting. The law of duality.
Yeah, that in the long run, most markets become a 2-horse race.
Really? 2 main players.
Think about it. Batteries. Eveready and Duracell dominate. Film used to be Kodak and Fuji. Car rentals, Hertz and Avis are top of mind. Mouthwash. Listerine, Scope, burgers, McDonald's, Burger King, sneakers, Nike, Reebok, toothpaste, Crest, Colgate.
Wow, yeah, that pattern holds up surprisingly often. It's the old guard versus the upstart.
Often, yeah. The reliable leader and the challenger. Which means being number 3 can be a tough spot long term. Think RC Cola. Or Chrysler, historically. Even the early video game market eventually boiled down to Nintendo versus Sega for a long time. Understanding this duality helps you strategize. Are you the leader needing to fend off number 2? Or are you number 2 trying to define yourself against the leader?
And if you are number 2, how do you define yourself? Law 9, the law of the opposite.
Right. If you're shooting for second place, your strategy is basically dictated by the leader. You don't try to be better, you try to be the opposite.
Leverage their strengths into a weakness for you.
Exactly. Pepsi did it brilliantly. The choice of a new generation against old established Coke. Newsweek went for straightforward writing against Time's more colorful style. Scope hit Listerine's medicine breath taste by being the good-tasting alternative.
Tylenol positioned itself for people who shouldn't take aspirin.
Perfect. Find the leader's core attribute and position yourself as the clear alternative. Beck's beer emphasized being popular in Germany when Lowenbrau was popular in America. Stolichnaya was the real Russian vodka against American brands.
But the opposite has to feel authentic, right?
Absolutely. Needs a ring of truth. Royal Dalton China stressed its English heritage against American Lennox. Burger King's best moments came attacking McDonald's have it your way against standardization, broiling versus frying. When they stopped doing that, they struggled more. Find the leader's essence and be the compelling opposite.
Okay, so markets tend towards 2 players, and the second player should be the opposite. But what happens to categories themselves over time? Law 10, the law of division.
This is that over time, categories tend to divide. A single big category will split into 2 or more new ones.
Like cars. Started as just cars, now it's luxury, economy, SUVs, minivans, EVs.
Exactly. Or TV networks, then cable, now streaming. Computers started as one thing, now look. Desktops, laptops, tablets, smartphones. It keeps dividing.
So the idea that categories combine like financial services becoming one big thing is usually wrong.
Ries and Trout argue yes. Division is the dominant trend, not convergence. People still think in terms of insurance, banking, investing, usually separately. Don't expect things to merge. Look for the splits.
And if you're a leader, when a category splits, what's the smart move?
Use different brand names for the new categories. GM did this well early on. Chevrolet, Pontiac, Buick, Olds, Cadillac for different segments. Honda created Acura for luxury.
And trying to stretch one famous name across new divisions is risky. Like VW trying to use its nameplate on different types of cars later.
Yeah, it can dilute the original brand's meaning. Better to launch a new brand for the new category you want to lead.
Let's shift perspective now, thinking about time. Law 11, the law of perspective.
This one's crucial. Marketing effects happen over the long haul. Short-term gains can often lead to long-term pain.
Like sales promotions, they boost numbers now,
But they train customers to only buy on sale, right? Erodes price integrity, brand value. Think car rebates, lots of them. But overall, industry profits struggled. Constant sales can bankrupt you, like Siemens Furniture mentioned in the book.
So couponing is like a drug. You need more and more just to stay level.
That's the analogy they use. Contrast that with everyday low prices, like Walmart or Kmart aimed for, more sustainable. Even P&G started moving towards more uniform pricing.
And short-term thinking applies to line extensions, too.
Definitely. Launching Miller Lite might have seemed smart short-term, but look how many light beers followed, maybe diluting the core brands. Bud Light, Coors Light, Or Coca-Cola clothes, Trump steaks. Quick grabs that can damage the main brand's image over time. You have to think long term.
That pressure to extend the brand seems huge, though. Which brings us to Law 12, the law of line extension.
No, it's almost irresistible, isn't it? You have a successful brand, the pressure internally is always, let's slap that name on something else, leverage the equity.
But it often doesn't work.
Very often. IBM struggled when it went way beyond mainframes. Microsoft wants to own every software category, which is ambitious and challenging. The logic seems sound. A1 sauce is famous. Let's make A1 poultry sauce. But nope.
No.
Because in the customer's mind, the brand name gets welded to the original product. A1 means steak sauce. Trying to stretch it confuses things.
The book lists tons of examples. 7-Up flavors, Adidas cologne, Levi's shoes.
Right. Colgate food products. Campbell's trying to be everything. Del Monte putting its name on like every vegetable. The core message is more is less. More products under one name often means a weaker, less focused brand overall.
So Sears trying to be everything to everyone contributed to their trouble.
Arguably, yes. The conventional wisdom is build a big tent, cover all bases, but these laws argue for focus, selectivity, narrower is often stronger.
To get that focus, you need Law 13, the law of sacrifice.
Yes, you have to give up something to get something. Seems counterintuitive, but it's critical.
Give up what?
3 things mainly: product line, target market, and constant change.
Okay, product line.
FedEx sacrificed offering all air freight services like Emory did to focus intensely on overnight. That sacrifice gave them dominance. But then they risked it by trying to broaden out again later. Duracell focused on long-lasting batteries, sacrificing the wider range I've already had. Specialist retailers like The Limited. The Gap they sacrificed broad appeal for a narrow-focused customer.
And sacrificing target market.
Pepsi sacrificed the older market to laser focus on teenagers against Coke. That won them ground. Trying to be for everyone later might have weakened that edge. Marlboro sacrificed its earlier mild feminine image to focus solely on the cowboy, which was hugely successful.
And sacrificing constant change.
Sometimes consistency is key. People Express Airlines had a great focused no-frills model. They sacrificed that consistency, tried to become full service, and failed. Compare that to White Castle, unchanging, narrowly focused, surprisingly enduring. Sometimes you sacrifice the new to protect your core.
So if you sacrifice and find your niche, your attribute. Law 14 is the law of attributes.
Right. For every attribute a leader owns, there's usually an opposite effective attribute you can own. Don't copy the leader. Find your own unique selling point, your own word.
Like Pepsi owning youth opposite Coke's original classic.
Exactly. Or Crest owned cavities, so others grab taste, scope close up. Or whitening, IBM was big, so mini computers owned small. Gillette had high-tech razors, so disposables owned the opposite attribute, simplicity, convenience.
And Burger King maybe missed owning an attribute opposite McDonald's focus on kids, like focusing on adults.
That's the argument. They didn't consistently own a clear opposite attribute. The key is finding that unoccupied, opposing attribute in the prospect's mind.
Sometimes admitting a weakness can be a strength. Law 15, the law of candor.
It sounds crazy, but yes. Admitting a negative can make the prospect give you a positive. It builds credibility.
Like Avis. We're a no to the negative, so we try harder, the positive.
Yeah. Perfect example. Or Smuckers. With a name like Smuckers, acknowledging it's unusual. It has to be good. Positive quality. VW saying the Beetle will stay ugly longer, admits looks, highlights durability.
Joy perfume, the most expensive perfume in the world. Listerine. The taste you hate twice a day.
Exactly. Listerine admitted the bad taste to emphasize it kills a lot of germs.
Correct.
The key is, the candor has to feel real, and it needs that immediate pivot to a compelling, positive benefit. It works with existing perceptions.
Okay, so we have all these laws, but how do you make a big impact? Law 16, the law of singularity.
This says that in any situation, usually only one single move will produce substantial results. Forget trying to do lots of little things perfectly.
So marketing success isn't just adding up small wins.
Not usually, according to this law. History favors the single, bold stroke. Often the unexpected one, the line of least expectation.
Like the D-Day landings in Normandy.
Yeah.
A single, massive, unexpected move.
Great military example. In marketing, it means finding the competitor's key vulnerability and hitting that. Think about the attacks on GM. Japanese small cars hit one flank, German luxury hit another. Single, focused attacks that weaken the giant in the middle.
And Coke's many slogans over the years maybe lacked that singular focus.
Ries and Trout thought so. They suggested a single, bold move. Kill new Coke and double down hard on the real thing against Pepsi. One decisive action. Finding that single move requires deep market understanding, often from the very top.
But finding that move assumes you know it's coming, which leads to Law 17, the law of unpredictability.
Yeah, the kicker. Unless you're writing your competitors' plans, you can't truly predict the future. So long-range marketing plans based on detailed future predictions. Pretty shaky ground.
Like IBM's Office Vision software plan that didn't foresee how fast things would change.
Exactly. You can't reliably predict competitive reactions or market shifts years out. Good short-term planning is about finding that point of differentiation, owning that word now. Long-term planning is more about a consistent direction, a vision, like Domino's aiming to be the national pizza delivery chain.
So you adapt tactics, but keep the overall direction.
Pretty much. Trends are useful, like healthy choice riding the health trend, but don't just extrapolate them forever. The future isn't just a repeat of the present. Market research has limits too, especially with radical new ideas. Xerox initially struggled to see the market for its copier via research.
So flexibility is key.
Crucial. Be ready to adapt. They even suggested IBM could leverage its PC ownership by calling new workstations PMs, personal mainframes. A bold move, maybe facing internal resistance, but playing on existing perceptions. It's about taking calculated chances, not pretending to predict everything.
Okay, so you achieve success maybe with a bold move.
Yeah.
But then comes Law 18, the law of success.
And the danger it brings. Success often leads to arrogance, and arrogance leads to failure. Ego is the enemy of good marketing. Objectivity gets lost.
We've seen examples. Donald Trump's ventures, Robert Maxwell, success breeding overconfidence.
That's the pattern highlighted. Success makes companies think their name is magic, so they slap it on everything. Line extension. Brilliant marketers stay grounded, thinking like prospects, not like successful insiders.
So giants like GM, Sears, IBM became arrogant, lost touch.
The book argues yes. DC's Ken Olsen famously dismissing major trends like PCs. The CEO gets further from the front lines. Ross Perot criticized GM for this. You need ways to get objective, unfiltered market feedback.
Like going undercover.
Maybe, or just ensuring real feedback loops. Too many CEOs get caught up in internal meetings, outside activities, and delegate marketing. But marketing, Ries and Trout argue, is too important to delegate fully. Small companies often stay connected better. Things like Japanese consensus or Walmart's trial and error approach can help fight ego, then watch out for personal agendas driving decisions.
But despite best efforts, things go wrong. Law 19, the law of failure.
Yes, failure is going to happen. It should be expected and accepted as part of the process. How companies handle it is revealing.
Like IBM being quiet when winning, but holding more press conferences when losing.
That's an observation they make. Often, a lot of hype can signal problems are brewing. Think new Coke hype, USA Today hype, Next computer hype. All preceded struggles.
So hype doesn't equal success.
Often the opposite. History is full of hyped failures. Tucker Carr, USFL Football League, often promising to make everything else obsolete. Real revolutions often start quietly. Toyota slow build, MCI, Sun Microsystems, PCs, and fax machines took time.
The video phone has been hyped for decades.
Exactly. The biggest hype often surrounds things promising to change huge industries. Be skeptical of massive hype. Failure is common. Quiet starts often lead to real change.
Okay, related to hype is Law 20, the law of hype itself. Or maybe I jumped ahead. Let's back up. After failure is Law 20, the law of acceleration. My mistake.
No problem. Law 20, acceleration. Successful programs are built on trends, not fads. You need to know the difference.
Fads are like waves. Trends are like tides.
Good analogy. Fads are short-term, intense, visible. The wave. Think Atari's initial boom, Cabbage Patch Kids. They can bring quick money, but often end in a crash. The wave breaks. Trends are deeper, slower, more powerful underlying shifts. The tide.
So how do you handle a potential fad?
Smart move is often to dampen the fad. Try to stretch it out, make it more trend-like. Barbie doll endured by managing its exposure. Successful entertainers limit appearances. If you overextend a fad, like maybe Ninja Turtles did with endless merchandise, you can kill it faster. Learn to spot the difference. Short-term craze or long-term shift.
Okay, now Law 21, which I guess relates to the failure hype point. It seems we skipped one. Let me recheck the list. Yes, Law 20 was hype originally, then acceleration. Let's stick with the outlines order. Hype is 20, acceleration 21. My apologies. So, Law 20, the law of hype.
Right. The way things are portrayed in the press often is the opposite of reality. When things are going well, less hype is needed. When the hype machine roars, often means trouble underneath.
because recorders can get caught up in the buzz.
Easily, especially younger ones. New Coat got billions in publicity, failed. USA Today launched huge hype, struggled, next computer, massive fanfare, niche product. Hype doesn't create success. Look past it.
Okay, then Law 21, the law of acceleration. Trends, not fads. We covered that. Which leaves the final one, Law 22, the law of resources.
The bottom line, in many ways, an idea without money won't get far. Marketing needs fuel.
Even the best idea needs funding to execute.
Absolutely. Marketing costs money, serious money. Think wartime ad spending levels. Apple needed Mike Markula's early investment. Big companies spend billions on ads annually. P&G, GM, Philip Morris. It's tough for small players.
So money is essential.
It's a huge factor. There are ways to get it, marry it, divorce it, inherit it, franchise like dominoes, but you need it. For rich companies, the answer is simple. Spend enough to make the idea work. An underfunded good idea often fails just as surely as a bad idea. Resources matter.
Wow. Okay, that's all 22. Quite a journey through the fundamentals.
It really is. And you see the themes, right? Perception over product, the power of being first in the mind, focus, owning a word, thinking long term. These aren't just theories. They feel like, well, immutable laws of how markets work.
Yeah, they seem simple on the surface, but the implications are huge. It explains so much about why some brands thrive and others just fizzle out despite trying hard. Hopefully listeners can take these and reflect on their own work, their own markets.
Absolutely. So thinking about all these laws we've just run through, what's maybe the one single shift in perspective, the one law that you think could make the biggest difference for you listening right now in how you approach your own challenges?
That's the question to chew on. This deep dive is really just a starting point, isn't it? A way to get familiar with these powerful ideas from Ries and Trout.
Exactly.
Right.
Hopefully it sparks some deeper thinking or encourages folks to grab the book itself if a particular law really hit home.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Lots to think about.